Throughout history, philosophers and thinkers have dared to ask the big questions. Where did we come from? Where are we going? And why in the world do we even care about answering these questions in the first place? Today, I dare to ask, what in the world is a VeggieTale? How do they clap their hands? Why is Scallion number 2 so popular? Is it his perfect body, the way his slim frame fits to any clothes he wears? His enchanting voice that soothes the soul, but which he seldom uses, as if begging me to ask the most of him just so he can coyly say, "Yeah, see ya!" Or is that he always... Anyways, welcome to Labra Stories. I'm a first cousin of Sir Isaac Newton, and this is a perfectly sane analysis of VeggieTales. I may not have a certificate stating I am proficient at science, but that doesn't mean I'm not a scientist, and as a scientist, I can tell you without a doubt that if you want to study a living being, you first need to understand their anatomy. And so, to start, I need to go over the anatomy of a VeggieTale. Unfortunately, nobody has done surgery on Mr. Grape due to the lack of having the physical form of Mr. Grape in our grasp, and so that leaves me with no choice but to gather evidence from behaviors and physical properties. For starters, Larry and his fellow Veggies are intelligent. They can talk, sing, walk, operate machinery, operate on a system of money rather than bartering, ask questions, do math, and have emotions. Therefore, it's unequivocally evident that they have brains as well as some form of hormonal balance system. The Stuff Mart by Madame Blueberry's house sells scuba gear, indicating that they need to breathe and thus have lungs. They hop around and change the shapes of their bodies, so they should have muscles and nerves, but their bodies are not so undefined that they don't bend around objects that hit them. In fact, on many occasions they undergo extreme stress that would normally end with a splattered mess of goo, but clearly Larry is sturdy enough to withstand these blows. As evidenced by the lack of permanent deformities, it must be concluded that they have some form of internal structure like a skeleton, as opposed to the usual cell wall that is exhibited in plants. In fact, as I go further along this trail of discovery, the Veggies seem less like plants than they seem like animals. Another reason for this is that the Veggies are shown to enjoy food. Mr. Lunt sings a love song to a cheeseburger, at many instances the cast drink from straws, and King Nebuchadnezzar runs a chocolate bunny factory. With a lack of roots to draw nutrients from the ground, and leaves to get energy from the sun, it only makes sense that they would need to consume food. There are an abundant number of times that the Veggies are shown to be eating other Veggies. In the 8 Polish Christmas Party Dishes skit, they eat baked potatoes and cabbage, among other things. But even more so, in the Larry Sings a Silly Song segment for Pizza Angel, Larry sings about how he desires a pizza with tomato sauce. But his best friend is a tomato. Why would he want to consume the flesh of his friend's kind? Now, in this song, Bob is not present, and I'm not saying that he was used to make the pizza, but what I am saying is that Bob simply isn't around to eat the pizza. You see, in all the veggies and fruit the cast eats, there's one underlying rule. They're fine with eating it as long as it's not the same kind of food as they are. No tomatoes for Bob, no asparagus for Junior. But if Larry intakes food, then where does it go? He needs to consume so that he has energy, but where does the excess go? The waste products? As I searched for the answer to this, I initially thought that toilets were just rare, as toilet humor would never be in a Christian show about morals, but by the end of my research I concluded that VeggieTales had no toilets. In Where's My Hairbrush, Larry begins the song in the bathtub, but there's no toilet located in the bathroom. The Stuffed Mart rap mentions toilet paper, but not the toilet itself. Madame Blueberry goes to the Stuffed Mart and buys lots of stuff, but not a toilet. Now, I'm not saying that this is anything like America, where wealth is measured by the number and quality of toilets one owns in their home, but it still seems extremely odd that I haven't found a toilet. In fact, all I could find were 2 references to the toilet. The first is in the movie The Pirates Who Don't Do Anything, where Mr. Lunt goes to the powder room located near the stairs to the lower decks of the boat. But there's a problem with this scene, other than that the powder being referenced is gunpowder. In the ship, the only private toilet would be in the captain's quarters, and Mr. Lunt wouldn't have access to the room, and the only other place a toilet would be is in the front of the ship, so that the waves could naturally clean the area. Clearly, this shows that Mr. Lunt simply doesn't know where the toilet would be, even though he's a pirate, so he should have good knowledge of where they are located on ships. And this is the second example that I found.
I'll be right back. I just have to go to the bathroom.
They have bathrooms in the Bible? The Bible?
The toilet is a joke. It's upon these findings that I conclude that the Veggies and VeggieTales don't need to use toilets. But then I'm still left with needing to answer where the food that they intake goes. If they never expel the mass in the intake, then eventually they'll become too dense and collapse into a black hole. The logical extension to the Veggies not having toilets is that they have no means to poop, leaving their mouths as the only hole in their body, and the logical extension of that is that the only way that they ever expel anything is when they breathe. Returning to the Stuff Mart wrap, if you take a closer look at the scuba gear the scallions are wearing, you'll notice the obvious lack of an air tank. But why would such an essential piece of diving gear be missing here? Because it's not needed. You see, the Veggies expel their waste products through their mouths, but not in a solid or even liquid form. Their digestion is so perfect that their waste products can be expelled merely by breathing. They don't need scuba gear equipment to breathe in oxygen, they need it to expel waste while underwater. And that, generally, is the internal anatomy of Larry, and by extension, every other Veggie in the show. And while that's great, it also brings up another question. How in the world did these life forms come to be? Under Darwin's theory of evolution, it's strange that even one such species like Larry the cucumber would evolve, much less that at least 10 species that differed practically in only their shape and color would also evolve. The Veggies have a complex internal structure, follow a day and night sleep cycle like most humans, have a digestive system so advanced that they not only can breathe away their waste products, but also no longer require oxygen, and to top it all off, they can make objects levitate without a second thought. As far as human science is concerned, there's no way that the Veggies could ever evolve without the influence of extraterrestrial terraformers or some other absurdity, but even then, how would the terraformers give Veggies psychic powers? Well, if I were to say that there was one thing that checked all these boxes, it would be midichlorians.
You serious?
Believe it or not, midichlorians actually resolve a lot of the issues and oddities surrounding the VeggieTales characters. Being a microscopic life form that is supposedly present in all life forms, the midichlorians are basically bacteria like lactobacilli or bifidobacterium, except that they are intelligent. Rather than an extraterrestrial force influencing evolution and the development of veggie culture, the midichlorians would be an innate part of nature, smarter than anything else on the planet, therefore giving them free rein to change the environment according to their will. And I would have to say that they did the job pretty much perfectly. You see, in the Star Wars galaxy, the Jedi actively go around conducting blood tests on children to see if they have enough midichlorians to be Force users, but for the Veggies, everyone is a Force user. The old lemon, the average peach, and even the French peas. Every character is able to instinctively wield the Force, manipulating objects around them without a second thought, regardless of age. This means that the midichlorian count of all sentient life forms on the VeggieTales planet is over 9,000, or maybe even double that. As a result, the Veggies no longer need to learn how to use the Force to become Force ghosts either, because they're already immortal. As evidence of this, nobody ages in the show, and none of the main cast ever die or even get sick or develop diseases. It's like a perfect utopia, except that while the Veggies are immortal, they still reproduce, as evidenced by Junior and the other children in the show, and if nobody dies, then soon the population would be too large for the planet to support. And it's not like there's a ban on having children either. The asparagus family aren't wanted criminals, and given the moral theme of VeggieTales, having children is probably being promoted. So then, how do the Veggies avoid overpopulation? Well, if you recall those Polish dishes from earlier, you'll remember that the Veggies eat cabbages, but there are no cabbage characters. For these ingredients, it makes sense that the Veggies could be farming them alongside animal products like beef, but where does the tomato sauce come from? The Veggies can't grow tomatoes because they don't exist anymore, or at least they don't exist as plants. And this is where the problem of overpopulation is solved. The humane solution is, of course, that when a Veggie decides that they don't want to live anymore, then they can be turned into food. The rate of this occurrence would vary across races of VeggieTales, inversely proportional to the number of cast members in the show. To illustrate, just look at the overabundance of scallion side characters in the large asparagus family. Nobody would want to eat them because they're gross. On the other hand, there's only one tomato and one cucumber, Larry and Bob. These two species are so rare that not only do the Veggies no longer put pickles and tomatoes on their cheeseburgers, but Larry needs divine intervention to summon a pizza with tomato sauce, but even then God's angel can't help him. I mean, look at their names, Larry the Cucumber and Bob the Tomato. They're the last of their kind. And that brings me to the second solution to the Veggies overpopulation, that the Veggies are actively hunting each other for food. But if you want to learn more about that, I don't know, subscribe or something. And until then, that's just a theory, What do you mean I can't say that?